All right, my friend, we are back, but we're here in Mario Kart World, which I almost called Mario Kart 9, but yes, the Switch 2, it's finally come out. You and me, Wally Win, Dr. Kendo, I'm Dr. Kendo, of course. We have been discussing at least twice now Switch 2 related topics or whatever. Yeah, and so now that we have this, it's like we can free roam a little bit, we can race a little bit, but I kind of wanted to ask you and discuss with you, what do we think about Switch 2 now that it's out, for one, but can it kind of keep the momentum going in the life cycle of it? You know, how's it going to be looking going forward? Because it had an amazing launch.
Yes.
Yeah. So just even put it out there, most people know this, but the launch was 3.5 million, something like that. And so the Switch 1,
Crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts because the Switch first console did 2.74 million, and I think that was in a month's time, whereas this 3.5 is in 4 days. And so not only is that for like good for Nintendo, good for Switch, but I think that's a whole gaming industry record probably. So yeah, it is nuts. And so I guess if I was to ask you one thing, in general, like you and I are going to get into the nuances of this with kind of 3 main points, I would say, unless we come up with some more. But like the question is ultimately, can it keep going, right? So like it had a great launch, can it keep going? And so really the first angle that I want to ask you about, and I'll talk on it too after you, is just what do you think about the pricing model? Because this could prove to some degree or it could not. I could see it go either way, but this potential of 3.5 million on the launch and people buying it means that they were okay with the price? Or do you think that that's a thing of like, oh, well, it's just the hardcore Nintendo people? So overall, what are your feelings on the pricing model?
I mean, I think a lot of people would disagree. I think most people disagree with the pricing of Mario Kart World, the game individually.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing. In the beginning, at first, people were like talking about the Switch price, but then, when you really think about the technology, the convenience of taking it wherever you want to go with the frame rate and how well it can process a game, it's worth it. The system, in my opinion, it's totally worth it. And I don't see the price of the system being an issue at all. Now, as far as the momentum, I think, of course, Mario Kart is a seller. I think the bundles will continue. If those continue, I know it says, through the fall, I think those are going to continue to sell. But what's going to keep the momentum going outside of that? Hopefully they have a direct soon of really letting us know of exactly what games are coming up to get people very, very excited. There's a lot of great third-party games with the release. You got Cyberpunk that people like. You got what is it?
Hogwarts Legacy or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of the movie name. Shit. And I love
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Yes. So,
I ain't never read those books, dude. I don't do much reading, but I watched the movies.
Yeah, I watched mainly the movies as well.
Yeah.
But I drew a blank though. But so it's quite a few third parties coming up. Donkey Kong Bananza, while I'm excited for, I've seen some people that went to the Nintendo experience and they were like, they were excited for it when they saw the trailer, but when they played it, they were like, they really, the excitement kind of went down quite a bit. But again, Nintendo is going to only let you. With Mario Kart, I think they showed you as much as they could because they wanted to make sure. Well, Mario Kart is not necessarily story driven,
right?
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
While Donkey Kong is more story driven, you don't want that ruined. So I'm hoping a direct comes out soon that really shows off more games, what to expect, the future of the Switch 2, and I think that's going to help me decide more of the momentum of the longevity of the system. So what are your thoughts on it though, as far as pricing and the longevity of it?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to definitely, I think that's another point is we'll talk about just kind of games and stuff like that, because what was Reggie Fils-Aimé's famous line? It was, play the games. Play the games. That was what he told Jeff Keighley, who was like, what's your proposition for everybody when there's Sony and Microsoft? But anyway, to stick to the pricing decision, it's like, to me, I agree that the console, that was essentially where I would think it could be, and it shouldn't really go higher, but I think it could, of course, with tariffs. I don't think it'll go lower, and we've discussed this before, but the only potential of it going lower would be a very, like, temporary, oh, it's Black Friday, or we're, like, bundling, and it seems like it's lower because this good bundle. You know, it's something that's going to be, like, on a temporary basis rather than a permanent, lifelong price decrease. I really don't see that coming.
Right.
And so, ultimately, Mario Kart, we all have the option. Nintendo actually did really good. Like, it sounds so weird to say this, but, like, thank God that they had so many units. Not only did they satisfy, I got in line at Best Buy for my pre-order, man, and I was even telling you because I have anxiety. I was just like, dude, I just hope I'm gonna get mine. Like, I pre-ordered it, but I'm like scared. You know, I said, I don't know, Wally, it's just I have anxiety. But of course I got mine, dude. There was like 100 people after me in the pre-order line, and they had 2 lines at Best Buy. One's pre-orders, one's for people who are just YOLOing it. And dude, those people YOLOing it, there must have been like, oh my gosh, I live in a big city in Texas, so there was so many people I couldn't count. It was going in the whole strip mall. It was going around different buildings. Like, that's how many motherfuckers were just sitting there YOLOing. And dude, I have the craziest story. I don't even know if you've heard this story, but just to get on the tangent, and then I'll get back to price, okay? I think this is valuable. But I get there, right, to Best Buy where I pre-ordered, and some kid comes up. I'm not even in line for about 5 minutes, and some redheaded kid comes up to me, and he was like, "Can I get in front of you?" And then I looked the other direction, like to the open doors, and I was like, well, I mean, I want my Switch 2 also. You know, like, that's what I told the kid. Because, like, I'm trying to be polite, but, like, fuck no. You know what I mean? And then he goes, what? You know, the pots and pans, right? I'm telling you, this kid's like 9, 10 years old or something. He says, like, the pots and pans. And then I go, no, this line is for the Nintendo Switch 2. And then he goes, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, man, like, look over there, that sign. I'm showing him the Best Buy sign, and I'm like, Nintendo Switch 2? And he's freaking out. He didn't know. And then his mom is driving in the parking lot, still trying to find a parking spot. And she says something. I don't remember this kid's name, but let's just say it was like Austin or something. And she, like, rolls the window down, and she's like, Austin, stop. Because she, like, saw he was talking to me. And so then the mom parks and gets there like a minute later, and she comes up to him, and he's like, Mommy, the Nintendo Switch 2 is here. This is a Nintendo Switch 2. And then she goes, surprise. So I think what happened was she was trying to tell him that we need to go buy some pots and pans, which, what the hell, dude? It was at 11 p.m., you know what I mean? I mean, it was like 10:30 or 10:20 at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
More like 10. But yeah, so she, like, told him some story, blah, blah. But then she comes up to him, and he says, you're getting me the Switch 2? And she's all like, yeah. And then I go, oh, hey, ma'am, did you pre-order? And then she was like, no. And so I go, oh, this is the pre-order line. I was like, that line over there, that's for the non-pre-order customers. And then she was like, oh, okay. And, like, there was this sense of dread, and I was just like, you know, I told her, God bless you, I hope you could get one. Because I'm telling you, Wally, there were so many people.
Yeah. Yes.
So many people. And so that tells you one thing, right? So there's a point here. Again, I'll get to the price in just a hot second. I've been rambling, but, like, there's a point here that people have that, no, the Switch 2 only did these numbers because it was hardcore people. The Switch 1 buyer, the hardcore, the Nintendo drones, whatever they want to call us. But, I mean, there was a perfect example of something happening in this big Texas town where that was very likely not a hardcore, you know, it's just a kid who, like, didn't even know it was out, you know what I mean? And the mom surprising him, and they were just YOLOing because they didn't pre-order, whereas a hardcore person probably would pre-order, right? You know, like, do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. So let's get back to price, though. The system, yeah, we've discussed that. You know, I think that this is pretty much the price point. But Mario Kart, I would typically agree. Like, I don't think any of us just enjoy $80 game. Like, I don't think I'm like, yes, dude, $80? That's so cheap. Like, no, I'm not saying that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and so what I am saying, though, is that we all have the chance, and this was my point about Nintendo and kind of God bless their inventory stock and stuff like that, is that there, I think, is going to be enough inventory to meet the demand that anyone who wants Mario Kart World should take advantage of this bundle, because, like, we have the chance, you know, to get it at $50. $50 feels like a steal in today's economy simply because games that are AAA are going to really start costing 70 plus.
Right.
So to me, that is like a very good kind of long summary of my feelings on the whole matter. I think that I mentioned this last time we discussed, Wally, but I think that without Nintendo's decision here with Mario Kart and the pricing, you know that Sony and Micro would be announcing games for 80 or more. So I'm telling you that this is where the industry was going, unfortunately. And so this is an industry at large conversation that maybe you and I can discuss in an entire separate podcast. It's just, is the video game industry like accessible for all people? And the truth is, it kind of isn't, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's where we're headed, is that it's going to be more price prohibitive to get AAA. Now, a lot of people would say, and you and I actually, Wally, on our videos here on the Task Force channel, we got a comment from somebody, and, you know, God bless them. Like, it was the dude didn't quite see eye to eye. Like, he was thinking, you know, Mario Kart World, there's nothing at all. He said, there's no way that I could be convinced that it's $80, worth $80. But he mentioned this game. It's called Claire Obscura 33, if you've heard of that. And if you haven't, I'll basically just say it's a pretty small dev team for the most part. It's not a AAA game, but it looks just incredible. I mean, we're talking the best of them, Final Fantasy. Think about the best RPGs you ever played and kind of like an adventure RPG. And it's one of those. And it's this game that really kind of took the world by storm, basically, lately. And the game cost $30. And again, it was by like a small dev team. It's not lacking in any content that a AAA game might have, for instance. So, yeah, they're kind of saying, well, that's how you sell a game. That's what the person said in the comment. They said, that is how you sell a good game. And it was $30. And so there's a whole tangent of answers that we can go on why Mario Kart could cost $80, blah, blah. But let's just kind of like stick to this, and I'll let you talk now. It's just, we have the advantage right now of, at least until the fall or longer, getting Mario Kart World, which is a game that I think is worth $80, but you can get it at $50 right now.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if price is an issue of $80, you can get it for $50. Get the system, get the game for $50. But I think some people have an issue just with the principle of it. And, you know, while again, do I think it's worth it? Yes. Do I know more? Do I feel like more is going to come? Yes. Now, be keeping it a buck, keeping it a stack,
Mario Kart,
you know. Yes.
Yeah.
But keeping it a stack can sometimes Nintendo's, like, you know, something that you would think that's a simple yes, and Nintendo don't do it. You know,
yeah,
that does happen quite a bit. But so far, man, I've been having a ball. Like, I've already put, I want to say, like, so many hours into the game already. Like, I already played 30 hours or more. You know what I mean? And it's been a week, and
you and I are old asses. We have jobs and everything. Like,
yes, we have. You know, we work. We you know,
kid on
some of us have families. Yes, you know what I mean. And I still put in so much time. That's how much fun I'm having with this game. Online is something serious. People like. I mean, just seeing the tricks that you can do, the different things that you can do on the game. It's more strategy to this. You know what I mean? It's so many paths you can take. Some people might find it, you know, like the mushrooms. How you, a little bit overwhelming, and like, you know, how some people say, you know, the mushrooms are OP in this game because you can cut so much of the track, go back cutting through the grass, because, you know, it's just how the open world is. But I've been having a ball, dude. But what I want to touch on, you know how you talked about your experience on the pre-order night. I don't think in our last video,
you gotta tell us about that.
Yes, you guys, let me tell you what happened with me on the pre-order day. So during April 24th, you know, the pre-order night, you remember you and I, you helped me through it. We was trying to get our pre-order in. We was trying to lock in our Switch 2. At that point, they were talking about how it was going to be limited. Yes, they were going to send as many, you know, quite a few over here, but you knew everyone was locked in was trying to lock one in. I was able to lock my Switch in the bundle through Walmart on the app. got my Pro controller. I got the system first, the bundle.
Mm-hmm.
After I got that, I said, okay, I can go back and pre-order my Pro controller, which I did. Okay, so they put the hold on your cart. Everything is good. Some people was getting their order was canceled like a week or so before. Never got that email.
Yeah.
Never. The only thing that I got was update the payment method. Okay. There's something wrong with your payment method. That's what it was.
Mm.
And I'm like, why am I getting it for, because my credit card, the limit, I mean, it was way more than enough
Yeah.
to cover the system. Like, way more than enough. And I made sure I contacted my bank that they weren't blocking anything. And my bank was like, no, we haven't blocked anything. Like, everything is good. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So I contacted Walmart customer service, and they said, no, you're good. This email went out in errors for people. You're good to go. So each day, my anxiety was just up about it. So,
Yeah.
and I hate being one of those people, but I called multiple times, you guys, like not on the same day. I called
Yeah.
like multiple times to make sure everything is good. They said, no, you're good. I said, okay, cool. Day of the Switch release, that Thursday.
Yeah.
No, that Wednesday, the 4th, June
Oh yeah, like
3rd.
midnight.
June
Yeah.
3rd. Yes. I'm at work. The game was supposed to be released at midnight that night, but I'm at work that day. It was around 10:30 in the morning. I'm in the office. And something just told me to check my email right quick. I had a little moment. I checked my email. No. This is what it was. I got a text. That's what it was. Your
Mm.
pre-order was canceled. I said, what the?
Yeah,
Like
that's
what?
pain.
And I literally called them literally the day before to make sure everything was good because I knew the following day that's when it should be shipped. They said it was good, man. I called them and they were like, yeah, your pre-order was canceled. We think, your bank had blocked the charge. Oh my gosh. I said, well, if I give you my information, now can you charge it? Unfortunately, no. Once it's canceled, it's canceled. You're going to have to try to put it in your cart and get it ordered.
Oh my
I
god.
said, let me call my bank because they supposed to know that they're not supposed. I told them about this and expected, and they told me they were like, no, we didn't block a charge. We just see the charge for your which was for the Pro controller. That went through no problem. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Same payment method, everything, no problem with that. But with the system, it got canceled. I called Walmart back and I spoke with someone differently, and he said yes, the payment method, you just had to go in and confirm it. And I said, but I called that. I was told that this was an error email. Didn't have to do anything. And he saw the call log and the conversation. And he said, oh, you're right. They told you some misinformation.
I.
He literally, and it wasn't his fault. I didn't take it out on him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because it wasn't his fault. And I'm just like, it's just so unfortunate. Like it's going to be hard to get this system. Like, because at that point we didn't know how it was going to be. At that
Right.
point,
Yeah.
you know
Didn't
what I
know that
mean?
there'd
It
be
was
inventory.
right. So it's a busy day at work. I'm going through all of this. I'm like, I'm not going to get my Switch too. So I'm messaging you as I can, while I'm working. And that's when you told me you came through again. You came through, my dude. You
Thank you.
told
Thank you.
me, about, we were coming up with different things like me getting up early to go
Mm-hmm.
to Walmart in the morning, try to get it before work, or, try checking on Walmart to see if they would let me put it back in my cart again. All of that. We were just doing everything, thinking of everything. Then you said you saw something about GameStop allowing you to do pre-orders for people that don't have one at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I'm gonna see if I can do that. It was a busy day at work. I didn't know if my boss was going to let me do that or not, because just how things were falling.
Mm-hmm.
But she did. She was like, yes, you can take a late lunch, go do what you got to do. But I had to be back within an hour because of what was going on.
Yeah.
And
Stressful time.
man, listen, my mind going everywhere. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. I went like 2:45 because it takes like 10 minutes, depending on traffic, to get to GameStop from where I work. And I got there. There was a line. There was a small line. I was number 22 because they gave out
Oh shit.
tickets, so they just give you a estimate, of how long the line was when I got
Mm-hmm.
there. So I get there. They had it the same line. The people that already pre-ordered just to get their ticket number, and then the people that need to pre-order one. We were all in the same line. They didn't split us up at all.
Ah, yeah.
And
Okay.
people that had already pre-ordered, they're trying to sell them more stuff. And so it's taking a while, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm not gonna be able to get it now. I'm gonna have to try coming again after work. It might not, they might run out. I just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But around 45 minutes or so, I finally got in there. I was like, yeah, I'm here to see if I can pre-order, the Switch bundle. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah. The
Yeah,
relief
like it
that
was
I
easy.
felt,
Yeah.
like it was no problem.
Yeah.
The relief that I felt right now, and I told him what I went through
Yep.
with Walmart, and he was like, "That was so unfortunate." Like he really showed empathy. Like, man, I'm sorry. He was like, "I'm glad that we were able, to help you out." Blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. But GameStop said, by me pre-ordering, that I had to pick it up at midnight. I couldn't pick it up the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got there like 11 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a nice little line out there. But my number was 22. When midnight came around, the guy said, "All right." He said, "Can y'all count?" Like jokingly. And we were like, "Yeah." He said, "Okay." He said, "Even though you came up here first, you have to line up by your ticket number." And I'm
Ah,
like,
okay.
"That." So that moved me up quite a
Yeah,
bit.
that's pretty nice.
Yes. So I was able. I think I messaged you when I got mine. I took a picture
Yes.
of it, said I got mine, and that's when you told me how long the line was.
Oh
How you
yeah.
just explained to me. At Best Buy, at your place, and I came home. I wanted to, set it up or whatnot, let my controller start charging, whatever. And I kept getting the error code about I couldn't download the game.
Oh yeah, and mine did it so fast and smooth.
It was like, I was like, are you serious? I just want to get
Yeah.
like a quick little feel of it. Couldn't do that. I said, forget it. Tried to go to sleep, but when you up, you're doing
You're
stuff,
all
you're moving
amped.
around, it wakes you up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't wind down. And it was a long day at work, but dude, I was able to that evening I came home, I played it, had the time of my life. But this is something that I haven't had told you yet. Earlier this week, I got an email. Walmart gave me some money back for the from my controller,
Uh-huh.
like pretty much like 80% of it off from what I went through.
All right.
And
So
so that
it was just later. They were just like, "We're sorry." So here's like 80%
yes,
off.
yes, it was like we're sorry for I forgot how they were. It was like we're sorry for the inconvenience of blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah, and you will have to do a refund of blah 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 blah. And I'm like, bet, okay,
Yeah.
that made me feel a little better because it was messed up. Like imagine
Yes.
if things were different, the stock was different, I'd have been screwed.
Yes. Exactly.
But I just wanted to put that out there. I know that was a long story, but I had to share that, y'all. It was insane. And if you guys have any type of story similar, like please comment down below. Let us know what your story was. But yeah,
Well,
dude.
yeah. So that's about the price and the inventory. And so
Yes.
you and we can change our scenery or we can keep free roaming. I enjoy free roam, of course.
Let's drive to a different section in free roam. Where you want to drive to?
Dandelion Depths. That's beautiful, isn't it?
And let's
We'll see.
drive there. Let's make it a scenic drive. Let's
Scenic drive.
yeah.
Oh, I just fucked up their entire bonfire. So one thing that I just feel was a consistent, maybe it's Twitter. Twitter's poison, so it might just be that. But perhaps there are other people who really have this feeling though that the Nintendo Switch 2, it's like, why would it sell right now? It doesn't have games. There's kind of this notion of just no games, right? Like you're going to buy the system and have nothing to play. So, that's a very easy argument to come back to or whatever. Fine, let's say at least one of them. I mean, first off, it's Mario Kart. That's the best-selling franchise in the entire, Nintendo for
Right.
Switch 1. But aside from that, we've already mentioned the third-party offerings. There's, all 70 people who did this, you could also buy welcome tour. I personally didn't do that shit, but I'm just saying that was an option. But there's like the whole GameCube Nintendo library thing. There's in the classic systems, I should say. But then think about like your entire Switch 1, and now they're like always upgrading the Switch 1s. It comes out every day, it seems like that. It's like, oh, hey, we enhanced Splatoon now, if you play it on your Switch 2. Like, so they're just enhancing the Switch 1 games. Like, so to me, you have a nice offering there. And so we're actually, Wally, we're going to talk about that later. But I guess if we were to stay on like, is there no games, blah, 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 that's obviously something we just argued, right? Is like that there's nothing to play. I don't think that that's particularly true, but it comes to the question of, well, that's the launch. So what does it look like for 2025, maybe a few months beyond? And so I'm going to let you talk first because I just talked a lot, but what do you think about, like, if we need the data? I think I have this, actually. I might even have, because I was talking to Shambler, but if we need the data of, like, which games are coming out when, you just let me know. I've got all that written down. But yeah, so does it look steady, Wally? Does it look like a healthy 2025 rest of the year?
I think so. I mean, to each his own first.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Like, we got one heavy hitter out. Donkey Kong, while he's well known, it depends with Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm not doing it.
And so Metroid, while it looks like, it's a critically acclaimed game as far as sales go, though, that's a different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping that does well for more hardcore gamers, I would say. But Pokemon, of course, that's a huge fan base there, even though it is coming out on the Switch as well. I think that
it's Switch 2 preferred.
It's Switch 2 preferred because, it moves smoother, you know what I mean? Hyrule Warriors that's supposed to be coming out. What else am I missing? I'm missing something.
Yeah, maybe I should just like go through kind of a quick data point on that. So like your 2025 looks like, let's stick to like mostly first party here and like possibly second party, I guess, when we say this. But yeah, you mentioned Hyrule Warriors. So like if I was to go a little more in order or whatever, it's like, yeah, Donkey Kong is July, Dragon Drive is the summer, so I presume maybe an August thing if they want to take advantage of that month. But yeah, we know Pokemon Legends ZA, that's going to be in October. I think it's Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV is the thing that's September, because I remember there was like something for late September, I think. And Kirby Air Riders. So these are all TBD now, right? As Metroid Prime 4, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders, and now we have a new announcement of Splatoon Raiders. So it's like there's even another game that's thrown in here, and they're each of a different magnitude. So like Dragon Drive is obviously not a big epic like Pokemon Legends ZA, right? Like Metroid Prime 4. So they're all at like a kind of a different scale, because Hyrule Warriors also, it's not at the scale of full-on Zelda. So it's like, that's good, because then you're going to have a mix, and probably with that comes a mix in pricing modules for, the smaller games. Like, what is Dragon Drive? They ain't going to charge no 80, for Dragon Drive.
Right.
Yeah. But go on if you had anything else.
I feel like it's decent. Again, Donkey Kong for me. Metroid Prime, I do feel like I am going to get that because I do like a good adventure game, and it's a first person shooter, and I'm kind of intrigued on what they're gonna bring more. Like we already know she's gonna have some type of psychic ability, and I'm intrigued on how we can utilize that in the game. Like what more you can do with that power.
Nice.
I feel like there might be some more announcements we don't know yet for this year, and that's why I'm ready for this new direct. I feel like it's going to be something else that's going to really blow people away. I feel like I just got it in my bones. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Nintendo thing.
But it's that Nintendo thing.
Please be Star Fox, please.
Man, I would go crazy.
But you know why they probably wouldn't?
Multiplayer?
Oh, yeah. But you know why they probably wouldn't? I was going to say is because there's already Donkey Kong, Metroid. Like, I think Nintendo does think of those not maybe in the same tier as Star Fox, but on the not A level.
Right.
They're going to be like AAA games, what I'm saying. They're not the A tier players like Mario Kart, Zelda. Yeah.
Yes.
Those are
So I
clear.
totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
It would be nice though, like Kirby Air Riders, that was one that was like, oh shit, they brought that back. You know what I mean? Like,
A
you know,
surprise.
right. That was a decent, because, I played, like, my cousin and I, we played that so much on the GameCube. Like, that City Trials, we played the mess out of that.
Nice.
So, I feel like if it could be another, if it's like another game that has like a cult following, and it's like, we bringing this back, a new game or a new series of this, a new game of this series.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be like that would take the icing on the cake. Some people feel like it might be Luigi's Mansion,
Okay.
around October, because Luigi's Mansion, while it's popular, I like it, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to be a huge system seller? Maybe not. But
Yeah.
do I think it's a good game and people love it? Absolutely, absolutely. The graphics on Luigi's Mansion 3, it was just insane. I loved it. But that's why I feel like it's going to be that one little thing that's going to be a surprise that it's going to knock people off their feet. And I think that's what's going to make it for this year.
Yeah, keep in mind that Pokemon Legends is in October, so they probably won't compete with that release date.
That's true.
They probably would just have the one kind of big game then. But yeah, it'd be so interesting to go down the rabbit hole, which we should not do, but the rabbit hole of like, what could it potentially be, Could it be Pikmin? Could it be this, Because there's so many different like directions you could go. But yeah, so the thing to think about kind of with what we're just discussing right now is like, there are a few that we know for 2026. The main one that I'm thinking of is Tomodachi Life, which is also a Switch 1, so it's just Switch family system. Yeah, but this discussion also sort of lines up with our last point that I wanted to, kind of in an organized fashion, talk about, was when we compare this Switch 2 and what you and I just talked about, what we just finished talking about with Switch 1, let's put ourselves back to where we were in 2017, because that was March 3rd of 2017 when that launched. And so Switch 1, first off, its life cycle, we can talk about that too, because I think that's relevant, but like it was like lightning in a bottle. But one of the other good components was that, so like Switch 1 in 2017, it launched with Breath of the Wild, which was also a Wii U thing, but then it also had snipper clips, and it had, wasn't there, 1-2 Switch. So these were like the first party main offerings. And so when I think about that, Zelda is like the thing that could beat out Mario to other people. Mario Kart, I'm sorry, to other people. It's not to me, potentially, because Mario Kart, I think, is my absolute favorite, like, franchise, so I don't think it's me particularly. But let's face it, like, people love Zelda, and so, obviously, when you compare 2017 with Switch 1 launched and stuff with that, we're actually at a similar pace to some degree with the Switch 2, which is interesting because the later parts of the Switch 1's launch was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was 2 months later. ARMS, that was about 3 months later. Splatoon 2, I think it was like almost 5 months later because it was late July. But there was Mario plus Rabbids, the first one, Kingdom Battle, that was August of 20, so that's almost 6 months. Pokken Tournament DX, which was the remake or remaster of that fighting. So the DX of that came out in September of 2017. So Mario Odyssey was like kind of that huge thing, which was October 27th.
Yes.
So that's
people went crazy in that trailer when they saw that little clip of it. I remember.
Yeah, being a T-Rex and stuff. But like that's 7 months after the launch, right? Is a really heavy hitter that could go head to head with Zelda. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was in December to end off that first year for the Switch. And so when we're reading that off, I can see, like, I will certainly concede that Switch 1 had these huge hitters. Like, I do not put Donkey Kong on the same level as a Mario platformer or a Zelda Breath of the Wild, Like, I just don't. And Mario Kart is, like, to me, equal, So you can see that Switch 1, it did do a good job, but like I said, I mean, we're pretty much at the same pacing, though, like, because it's game, like, each month. I think all months will probably be accounted for.
I think also that we need to take into account the Switch was something totally new. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was, wow, this is a new system. We know it's a new system. Other people should know it's a new system.
Yeah.
But that was something new in general, and I think that was also a seller. Like you could take these games on the go, these big games on the go.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time because the Steam Deck, was that out then with the Switch before the Switch?
Steam Deck, I think, was the next year, so no, I don't think it had been yet.
So it was the first
I'll
big
verify.
like system that was also a home system that you could take on the go. So I think that also played a huge part in the longevity of the original Switch. You know what I mean?
Gosh, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, Steam Deck was actually 2022, so like it was like long after that.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
I think that kind of helped with the Switch longevity as well. So that's why the Switch 2 really need to bring like some good games to keep the momentum up.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, if there was one good game to keep the momentum up, what is it? What's the system selling game that's not, it's better than Donkey Kong, better than Hyrule Warriors, probably better than Metroid? Like, what would it be in the immediate sense?
I mean, definitely a Mario game.
So a Mario.
Definitely.
So I was wondering, do they go to a Mario game close to a Mario Kart? I don't know the answer. I don't know. Maybe they do. It is
like
different. But...
It is. I didn't like. I knew. I didn't think it was going to be like close with its launch, release. But as far as like later in the year, could I see it? Do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think they're going to wait for the movie to be released.
Okay.
Because you know what I mean? And then it's like it's good marketing for the movie as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the movie coming out is good marketing for the game. It's vice versa.
Oh, I got what
so,
you meant.
Yeah. So I just got that blog. You made it. It took me forever to get that.
I did try a few times.
I was struggling.
I also had a government to go. So it was kind of funny. But anyway, keep going.
But that I feel like a Mario game will be a great system seller. I feel like an Animal Crossing game would be a great system seller.
Yeah. If you want to get the Switch 1 buyer, you go Animal Crossing New Horizons 9 times out of 10,
Yeah.
That was because that was such a huge thing. I mean, that brings me to the final organized point. We can talk about whatever we want, but like the final organized point was essentially Switch 1, if you follow the trajectory after that year by year, when you think about it, their graph of fiscal year sales, right, like by million, it just like goes up in a bell curve style. So 2018, 2019's higher, 20's higher, 2021 was the highest, 2022 a little bit lower, but still high, a little bit lower, like, right? That's the graph. It's like a bell curve. And so the Nintendo Switch, to me, I call it lightning in a bottle simply because Nintendo accomplished something while to their merit, it is deserving. The thing is, they also had market conditions that helped so much, actually. So that's like really fascinating in my opinion. But yeah, think about, obviously, the bump. So 2019 is when the Switch Lite came out. So there was another offering that was cheaper, but obviously at the reduction of features. So consider that. But 2020, right? Like that was where we saw like a pretty big bump. And fiscal year 2020 is different than like the whole of 2020, but you get my drift.
Yes.
So 2020 and 2021 are awesome for Nintendo, and that's their highest point when the Switch One's life cycle, sales. And so where does this bring me all to is that it's not like we're going to have, let's fingers crossed and say, I don't think we're going to have another COVID-like event in the Switch 2's life cycle.
Right.
I don't mean ever. You could never give me a promise that. But anyway, like, will there be another kind of COVID lockdown style event that would benefit Nintendo, right? Switch 1 had that, and that's like a once in a lifetime, twice in a lifetime kind of thing. So for a person to have, that's amazing to me. To think about that. And Animal Crossing, like you said, that's what swept right in. Like, it was the perfect offering for that. Anyway. So that's so lightning in a bottle, isn't it?
Yes, it most definitely is. And while the numbers were already good with the Switch, that, like you said, it just took it to a whole nother level during those years. You know what I mean? With those releases.
Yeah, we're talking about a whole like 9 million, 10 million increase. Like,
yes, crazy. I was tripping. I'm totally forgetting about Smash Brothers. That would be a system seller.
There you go, Smash Brothers. And
what am I thinking? Like, yes, Smash is like that game, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that will also be a system seller. The thing is, which we could never, and like you said, this is going down a rabbit hole with something, which is something that I don't want to do. Ultimate, like, what can they do now? Will it be a port where they can improve on, add more features? Or will it be a whole new game? Like I said, Ultimate, but add like a space emissary type feature to it?
Yeah.
Or, like, what do you think they could add to it?
I think we could, if people comment below, have an entire discussion on like Smash Brothers. But to kind of quickly summarize, I think that like the problem is going to be that if they don't wow and amaze people in some huge way that's like crazy cool, then it will always be compared to Ultimate. How do you beat something called Ultimate? And it represents the Ultimate, which was we're gonna bring every single previous piece back and add more. So like, what are we gonna do now? Are we gonna have the Smash Bros fighting suit where we now wear a suit, like a wearable, and now we feel every punch?
Right. Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I have no clue though. What would that be? What would that game mechanic be? And like I say, people should comment, or you and I would have to decide one day we want to do a Smash Brothers style of one of these discussions. So, but yeah,
these are great talks though. Great topics.
Yeah, it's always fun because I was saying before we started recording that you and I are kind of like always just vibing. It's like we're thinking the same thought about things, even if not at the same time.
Right.
And so, yeah, we appreciate somebody commented on the last one and was saying, like, you guys are really a chill listen. Like it was a good vibe.
Yeah. Shout out to you. I saw that comment. Awesome, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed the video.
Yeah, so like, and that's what you and me, Wally, think to ourselves probably, in real time is like, yeah, this is a nice, good vibe. Chill listen.
Yes.
But so, yes, thank you. Obviously, want your thoughts in the comments, and that basically leaves the overall point that I think the Switch 2 will do good. Will not outsell the Switch 1, because how could you outsell something that got that close to the PS2? Again, on the Switch name. So, that's my thoughts, but I think it'll be okay. It's not going to be like Wii U. It's not going to be like Switch 1. Maybe it's going to be a little below Wii even, but somewhere around there.
And and mind you, while I know it will be a system seller, while I always respected Animal Crossing New Horizons, that was my first one.
Oh, I had no idea. idea.
Yeah, I never played Animal Crossing before until then and loved it.
Well, I think the best one before New Horizons to me, everybody else would say it's New Leaf. I would say it's just simply the first one. I just loved that because maybe it was a time and place. I don't know. But the only thing that we left out now also is that we've mentioned all these new versions of the franchises that we love, but what about new franchises? What about new IP, Because Nintendo's always coming with some new IP. ARMS was like the Switch 1's kind of new IP, at least for most of the time. I'm trying to think if there was another one. But yeah, like ARMS was kind of that big thing, I guess, and it was modest when I say big. But
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, could there be a new IP? I mean, there is Drag and Drive, but I think of something a little bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, how are they going to come up with their next Pikmin or their next,
Splatoon.
Yeah, their next Splatoon, and how they're going to come up with their next franchise if they ain't thinking about it. We have to have another discussion probably about Nintendo as a company, because it's a different Nintendo now too, man. This is a differently run Nintendo. Yeah. But we could go on way too many rabbit holes, so should we end this now?
Yes, great discussions. Again, you guys comment below. even though if you don't agree, it's always okay to disagree respectfully, in the
Yeah.
comments, and on just we want to hear your thoughts and what you feel about these topics. So just comment down below.
Yep. One love.